Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we have something really fascinating. We're getting a look, a really targeted look, behind the curtain of high-stakes preparation.
Yeah, our source material for this is a unique interview with a top NFL coach, Mike Macdonald, right as his team was preparing for a huge divisional round playoff game against the 49ers.
And look, while the context here is football, our mission for you is to pull out the universal principle.
Exactly. We're looking for those lessons in leadership, in team cohesion, and in strategy that you can apply anytime you're facing an intense project or a high-pressure deadline.
Okay, let's unpack this. What I find so compelling is that we're seeing how a leader keeps everyone focused on the process, on their identity, when the stakes are just incredibly high.
Right, when the consequences are so public. And what the coach, Macdonald, does so well is he explains how elite performance isn't about separating the tactics from the philosophy. Success comes from connecting the tactical, how do we defend this specific play with the philosophical why. The team's trust, their connectedness, and that link is really what turns knowledge into applied wisdom.
So let's start with that tactical blueprint. The coach jumps right in and identifies the main problem with the 49ers offense. He says they're great at putting guys in weird spots.
And that's a huge challenge to conventional defensive math. When an offense does that, they're forcing you to commit to clarify who has who all under pressure.
So it's not a fixed equation.
Not at all. He explains your alignment is always shifting. It depends on the opponent, the play call man versus zone, and how you account for all their shifts and motions. It takes a ton of planning just to solve that accounting problem before the ball is even snapped.
And in all of that complexity, he zeroes in on one massive tactical point for this game, controlling the run after the catch, the RAC.
Yeah, he says it flat out. He thinks they're probably the best run-after-catch team in the league, regardless of what the stats say.
That's a great example of knowing your opponent's real strength. He says their core tackling principles don't really change, but the emphasis shifts dramatically.
Right. And against a team like this, the goal isn't just about making a tackle. It's about eliminating space and making sure there are as few one-on-one tackles as possible.
So how do you do that? How do you eliminate space?
It's about aggressive pursuit, collective responsibility. The goal is to get multiple people breaking when the ball is declared. You never want a lone defender out there against one of their top guys.
Getting hats to the ball, as they say.
Exactly. And that instruction is coached everywhere. But this is the key insight Macdonald gives. He explains why his team does it so well. He says that pursuit, that effort, it's a byproduct of their connectedness.
So it's a symptom, not just a command.
It is. It's a team football standard. He says when they watch the tape, they aren't stopping it to count, okay, we got 9 guys here, 10 guys there.
They're looking for a feeling.
A feeling. The feeling that their identity is showing up in the execution. And for you, the listener, the lesson is that the highest performance metrics often come from building a culture where that effort is it's just assumed. It's non-negotiable.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so let's look at the personnel they use to make this happen. They're very versatile. He describes their defense as becoming a 4-3 base team with a crazy athletic Sam linebacker.
Right, and for anyone who doesn't know, a 4-3 base is usually 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. It's a stout run defense. The Sam is a strong side linebacker, and calling him crazy athletic just means they have a premium do-it-all talent in that spot.
And they blur the lines even more with their nickel defender. He talks about a player, Nick, who is technically a defensive back, but is really playing a linebacker position a lot of the time.
Yes, the nickel is that 5th defensive back you bring in.
Yeah.
But by using a player who can do both cover and play the run, they get what he calls key front variety. They aren't stuck in rigid positions.
Which is a huge leadership lesson, right? Don't force square pegs into round holes. Find people who can play those hybrid roles.
And what's so fascinating here, if you zoom out a bit, is how his whole philosophy is about managing information overload. That's a direct challenge for anyone, prepping for something big.
Absolutely. And when he talks about handling the pressure of the playoffs, his advice is just a masterclass in psychological framing. He tells the team, this is week 19.
I love that. By just calling it the 19th week of the season, he immediately lowers the temperature. He's not letting the game get bigger than it is.
The focus stays on the controllable.
Right. It's all about, okay, what do we need to do right now? We need to fix that red zone issue from yesterday. We need to finalize the 3rd down plan. It's all about hyper-focus on the immediate process.
And what's interesting is this comes from a coach who freely admits he's an overthinker. That's his nature.
And that self-awareness is so key. because he knows that he is going to overthink it. He understands the absolute need for radical simplicity for his players. The coaches can be thorough, but the game plan that gets to the players has to be, in his words, really clear.
Which brings us to that simplicity rule. Make it as simple as possible, but no simpler.
And they are ruthless about it. He says if the coaches see even a moment of hesitation from a player in practice, if a concept isn't landing,
that play is probably gone.
it's cut from the plan.
Yeah.
It's a really high bar for clarity. It basically says complexity is not a virtue in itself.
But doesn't that risk making you too predictable? I mean, if you cut out all the complex stuff, aren't you easier to figure out?
That's a great question because it gets to the heart of the trade-off. But the coach would argue that predictability is way less damaging than hesitation.
A player playing slow is worse.
Much worse. A player playing slow because they're thinking too much is a liability. They would rather execute a simple plan fast and violently than a complex one with indecision. So for you, if you're managing a project, it's better to nail 2 clear paths than to juggle 5 high-risk options that are confusing your team.
That really reframes what a competitive edge is. And speaking of coaching, he gives some great advice for leaders. He says coaches need reps, and they can't be afraid to fail.
Yeah, he calls it chasing edges. It's this idea of continuous incremental gains. Knowing that, you're going to have meetings where your coaching just wasn't good enough, and you embrace that failure to get a little bit better.
And this all builds to his core philosophy on leadership. He says the true reward, the ultimate satisfaction, is not how much you know.
It's how much you can get your guys to do.
Yeah.
And that just shifts the entire goalpost, doesn't it? It moves from personal mastery to organizational enablement. Your value is measured by how you elevate the people around you.
Okay, so if simplicity handles the what and the when, we have to talk about who the identity and this idea of feel. Let's dive into some of those intangibles.
Right, because their identity is built on this idea of complementary football. Offense, defense, special teams, all working as one. And Macdonald is clear, that wasn't something they just decided to do in week 4.
This started way back in training camp.
Way back. OTAs, training camp. He said it was reinforced by seeing positive signs every single day. So it's this organic process where trust is built in all these tiny interactions, not in some big rah-rah speech.
And you see that mentality show up when the field shrinks, right, in the red zone. He says the defense is never happy to be there, so the mindset has to be, the drive's not over.
Defending the blade of grass. It's a total mental reset. When your own project timelines get compressed, you have to eliminate the biggest variables. For them, that means stopping the run first and then understanding exactly how the pass game changes in a tight space.
It's all about microtask execution. But the most, elusive idea he talks about is feel. The feel of a play, the feel of a good practice. How do you teach something that intangible?
Well, you can't teach the feeling directly, but you can teach the vision that creates it. He says you get that feel by having a really clear vision for how you want to play, the intent, the speed, and then seeing it happen enough times that you recognize it instantly. You just know what it looks like when it's right.
That walkthrough example was perfect. He said he hadn't even watched the film yet, but he felt it was a great walkthrough.
Because of the intent, the communication, and the guys being loose and focused. That's the sweet spot.
Loose and focused, I love that phrase. It's the balance, right? High alertness, but without all the rigid anxiety.
And that requires everyone to just be us.
Bliss.
To trust the process. He makes a really important point. They aren't hunting for fun. They're hunting for a rigorous, excellent process. And the fun is just the byproduct of doing things the right way. That's huge for any organization. Focus on the quality of the work, and the engagement will follow.
Okay, here's where it all comes together, because we can ground these ideas in a case study. Let's use his description of this player, Spoon Devin Witherspoon, as the prototype for the kind of competitor everyone wants.
Yeah, you can tell how highly he thinks of him, and he breaks down why. It starts not with talent, but with his traits, his passion for the game, and this is critical for the process.
His selflessness, his competitiveness.
Incredible competitor, and he sets an unbelievably high standard for himself, which then pulls the whole team up.
It's contagious. The coach says teammates can't turn our tape on and watch 21 play and have any inkling of an idea that it's okay to not play with your hair on fire.
He sets the absolute floor for effort. just by being on the field. That is the definition of a culture driver.
Oh, yeah.
If you have someone on your team whose pure dedication makes it impossible for anyone else to slack off, you have hit the organizational jackpot.
But it's not just effort, it's brains. The coach says he's incredibly smart, he's reactive, he asks questions, he really cares about learning.
It's a perfect combo. Relentless effort married to a really sharp, curious mind. And you see that in his development. The team had a vision that involved another player, Nick, playing that nickel spot inside.
Which meant Witherspoon had to change his role. He had to move outside to a more traditional corner position. That's a big change.
It's a massive professional challenge. He ended up getting 3 times the reps on the outside compared to the year before. But the coach says his great play is just a reflection of his attitude, of chipping away at it until he becomes great at that skill set.
So it wasn't just raw talent.
No, it was the relentless pursuit, that chasing edges idea, but applied to his own skill development. It's a perfect example of embracing change and seeing it as a way to grow. So, we started this deep dive with a really specific tactical breakdown of stopping an offense, and we ended up with this powerful blueprint for building a high-performing culture.
It seems like the keys are always radical clarity, discipline, simplicity, and a collective intent that's all driven by trust.
And it all comes back to managing pressure. So, for you, the learner, getting ready for your own high-stakes moment, what does this mean? It means treat it like week 19. It's just the next step in a process you trust.
Right, and remember that communication is what makes complexity manageable. If an idea is causing hesitation.
Yeah, you cut it. And that focus on feel and connectedness, that's your signal to prioritize the culture just as much as the strategy. Because if the team doesn't feel right, if that trust isn't there, the best plan in the world won't work when it matters most.
And we'll leave you with this final thought to mull over, based on the coach's own definition of his job. He said the true reward is seeing other people do things they couldn't do before.
So think about your own professional goals. How are you measuring your success? Is it tied to your personal knowledge, how much you know? Or is it tied to enabling and elevating the people and the processes around you? Something to think about as you chase your own edges this week.